What if you got a second chance with your ex and you still hated them? Or at least, you're doing your very best to pretend you do. Our story kicks off in the middle of a heated argument between a couple on the brink of divorce. Voices are raised, tempers flare, and both of them insist that they'll have no regrets. In fact, they go so far as to swear, loudly, that if they ever reincarnate, they will never be together again. As these bitter words hang in the air, our main character, Kouhei, drifts into a flashback. He remembers his early days with Yuzuka, back when she wasn't his ex-wife, but the girl of his dreams. He recalls how he thought he was the luckiest man alive, convinced that their happiness would last forever once they were married. And now he'd like nothing more than to travel back in time and punch his past self in the face for being so blind to her bad habits. Back in the present, the fight continues, with each of them smugly claiming they're happier post-divorce than the other. Just when they're about to go their separate ways, Kouhei says something that makes Yuzuka pause and turn toward him, an eyebrow raised in curiosity. But before either of them can dig deeper, bam! A car barrels into view behind Yuzuka's oblivious head. Kouhei lunges forward in a desperate attempt to save her, and fails miserably. Darkness swallows him whole. When he wakes, it's to the sharp sting of a slap and the sight of a young girl calling him Big Brother. She's scolding him for being late. Kouhei is understandably confused. Why does his little sister Sana look so young? And why the hell is he in his childhood home? Last he checked, he had just been flattened by a car. Trying to piece things together, Kouhei asks about Yuzuka. Sana looks at him like he's speaking in riddles and asks if Yuzuka is some game character. Kouhei explains she's his ex-wife, which only deepens Sana's concerned frown. She accuses him of losing his grip on reality and says she's the only girl who's ever treated him nicely. Harsh, but probably true. Kouhei starts noticing odd details. His body feels lighter. Sana is wearing a school uniform, and she says it's his high school entrance ceremony today. It hits him. He's regressed all the way back to his early high school days. Tears well up as he realizes he can redo his life, avoid his dead-end job, and most importantly, dodge marrying Yuzuka, or so he tells himself. But then, reality check. Yuzuka is still as cute as ever. Kouhei vows not to waste this second chance. His plan? Get a better job, marry a high-spec woman, and stay as far away from Yuzuka as humanly possible. Unfortunately, she's sitting right behind him in class. During introductions, Kouhei goes first, introducing himself as Kurasu Kouhei and mentioning he likes checking out bookstores. Mid-sentence, it dawns on him. He's technically older than his homeroom teacher now. Then Yuzuka stands. She introduces herself as Kurasu Yuzuka, Kurasu being Kouhei's surname. The teacher raises an eyebrow, and Yuzuka stammers, fumbling for an explanation before blaming Kouhei for dragging her into it. Kouhei tries to rationalize it as nerves, but a thought creeps in. Could she have regressed too? Later at a bookstore, Kouhei browses nostalgia-inducing manga and congratulates himself on keeping a low profile, until Yuzuka appears. It's way too early for this reunion. He plays dumb, pretending not to remember her, blaming his forgetfulness on gaming all night. Yuzuka, undeterred, asks him for game recommendations, which makes Kouhei suspicious. Why so friendly all of a sudden? Inside, Kouhei's resentment still burns. If it were up to him, he'd tell her to play Get Out of My Life 2, Electric Boogaloo. But that might be a little too revealing. Instead, he recommends 2 games. Yuzuka lights up, saying she loves those titles. Kouhei blushes. And then, he remembers all the venomous words she hurled at him after their marriage. She starts asking personal questions, siblings, names, and Kouhei starts wondering if she's trying to groom him into the man she wants. Or maybe she's just lonely. Either way, he decides total avoidance is the safest path. He points her toward his sister's basketball club and makes his escape. On his way home in the rain, Kouhei recalls that, in his previous life, lightning struck a nearby park on this exact day. As he passes the park, he spots Yuzuka sitting exactly where the lightning will hit. He knows she's terrified of thunderstorms, even during their worst fights. His brain screams at him to keep walking. His heart says otherwise. He approaches, pretending it's just about her having no umbrella. She admits she gave hers to some kids. He offers her his, planning to leave, but she grabs his arm. "There's only one umbrella," she says. He's stunned. She suggests they share. Kouhei tries to refuse, but she starts laughing at how fast he's talking, teasing him for being shy around girls. The rain picks up. They end up sharing the umbrella, walking close. She wraps her arm around his, claiming he's walking too fast. He slows down, flustered. Then, crack! A lightning strike. Yuzuka screams, clutching him tightly. And yes, Kouhei feels the full force of her assets. "Why are you flustered over your ex-wife's teenage melons?" The imaginary narrator chimes in. Yuzuka asks to hang out at his place, but Sana appears, demanding to know if she's his girlfriend. He yells, "No!" But Sana isn't buying it. She blurts out that earlier he was rambling about Yuzuka and wondering where she was. To make things worse, Sana shows them a picture of the park right after lightning struck. Then, bombshell. Yuzuka asks if he's regressed. Kouhei laughs bitterly. "Yeah, and so what?" She calls him childish for keeping it secret. He fires back that she was interrogating him at the bookstore. They argue until they agree to stay out of each other's lives. But when Kouhei mentions he only approached her because she was in danger, she freezes. "Was it about the lightning strike?" she asks. He denies it, still insisting he hates her. They part ways, both friendless as ever. As Yuzuka walks away, she remembers the words Kouhei said before they regressed. She turns and quietly thanks him for trying to save her. Kouhei stands there, wondering if he imagined it. Regardless, he steels himself with one final vow. He will not get involved with her again. Yeah, good luck with that, buddy. Chapter 2 kicks off with a round finish screen flashing on the TV, followed immediately by Yuzuka letting out a frustrated yell. She's lost the match. Again. Kouhei, smug as ever, tries to give her some helpful advice. "Maybe you should have picked a stronger character." But nope. She cuts him off mid-sentence, declaring she's never changing her main. Ever. Kouhei just thinks to himself, "Wow, stubborn much?" Yuzuka pouts, then points a finger at him like she's calling out a duel in a spaghetti western. She's winning the next match. Kouhei grins. "Bring it on!" As they reset for round 2, Kouhei admits, at least to himself, that playing video games with Yuzuka is actually way more fun than playing alone. But then he pauses mid-thought. Hold on, why does he have the latest console? And more importantly, why the hell is he hanging out with Yuzuka again? Ow! Kouhei yelps as Sana smacks him back into reality. She warns him he's going to be late for school. That's when it hits him. He overslept. Again. Sana scolds him, saying it's because he gamed all night, and if he keeps this up, he'll never get to date Yuzuka. "Like hell I'm gonna do that," Kouhei snaps back instantly. On his walk to school, Kouhei notes he's surprisingly not sluggish at all despite pulling an all-nighter. Ah, youth. But something bugs him. Even after playing all night, it just wasn't that fun. The graphics these days? Complete trash in his opinion. Still, he remembers. That was the exact same game he and Yuzuka used to grind together back in their university days. And as soon as that thought crosses his mind, bam, he's blushing, confused about why she's been popping up in his head so much lately. He also recalls Sana teasing him mercilessly last night, and the time he and Yuzuka parted ways after a nasty argument. Back then, he'd sworn to keep his distance from her forever. So, in true overthinking fashion, he decides the solution is simple. Make new friends. While walking down the school hallway, he overhears two girls talking about joining a club. Joining a club, huh? He mulls it over and sets his sights on the art club. Why? Well, in his previous life, he got into drawing during university and actually got pretty good. Plus, he's a big fan of Akazuru-sensei, a manga artist he admires. Kouhei stands outside the art club room, thinking that if he grinds art skills for 3 years, maybe he can get into an arts university. Solid plan. He slides the door open and immediately locks eyes with Yuzuka, plus a few other random extras that might as well be background props. Awkward silence. Door closes. As he walks away, he realizes she probably had the same brilliant idea he did. But nope, he already promised himself he wouldn't get involved with her again. Same club? Out of the question. Plan B, the Manga Research Club. He stops at their door, admiring the poster. Pretty impressive for a high schooler. The art style looks eerily similar to a certain pro-mangaka he knows. While he's thinking, the door opens, and there stands a very pretty girl. She asks if he's here to apply. He says yes. She tells him she's the only member left. Everyone else graduated. Then she introduces herself, Akabane Chizuru, club president. Kouhei thinks to himself that if he'd been in the Go Home Club, he would have never known a senpai this gorgeous existed. She hands him a cup of tea, and they sit. Kouhei asks if she drew the poster, and when she says yes, he goes full fanboy, praising her skills as pro-level for her young age. Chizuru blinks. Young age? Kouhei instantly panics and tries to explain, saying it's just rare to meet someone this talented in high school. She thanks him anyway. Chizuru explains the club's mission, to share the joy of manga, even if just a little. Kouhei is struck. She's not only incredibly skilled, but she's got this noble ambition. Plus, she gives off the vibe of a full-fledged adult. He calls her a hard worker. She says no, she just enjoys it. But Kouhei insists that working hard at something you love is still amazing, using her manga's background art as an example. She tells him he's got a good eye. He adds that mastering a skill like hers is just like being a professional, and that he respects it deeply. Chizuru is momentarily stunned, then admits he's making her want to blush. Somehow, despite being younger, she says, Kouhei has the broad mind of an adult. Kouhei awkwardly denies it, thinking he probably sounded like a middle-aged man just now. Chizuru smiles and says they'll get along great, asking him to join the club. He's just about to say yes when Yuzuka storms in. Kouhei freezes. Why are you here? Weren't you joining the art club? Yuzuka says she left because she was the only female member, and if she'd stayed, she would have Yoko Ono-ed the club. Translation: blown it to pieces. Kouhei says that's no excuse to crash the manga research club. She replies that she's only interested because he is. Then she glances at Chizuru and declares she's joining too. Chizuru, curious, asks if she's serious. Yuzuka confirms, so Chizuru grabs her hand and asks what kind of manga she likes. Yuzuka points to a book. Chizuru says she's got great taste, calling it a masterpiece. The two start geeking out together while Kouhei watches like he's just wandered into the wrong genre entirely. Yuzuka laughs, saying she hasn't had pleasant manga talks like this in ages. Chizuru promises she's always welcome to. Kouhei tries to butt in, but it just turns into another heated Kouhei vs Yuzuka argument, until Chizuru casually takes a picture of them. When they ask why, she says, material for my manga. Not every day you catch lovers in the wild. They both deny it instantly, twice. Chizuru laughs, saying they're so in sync they give off old married couple energy. She changes the topic to another manga, which both Kouhei and Yuzuka recognize. Suddenly they're talking like old friends, even making Yuzuka laugh. Kouhei is caught off guard by her smile. They lock eyes, awkward silence, then both look away. Chizuru watches this little exchange with a smirk. They apologize for getting carried away. Chizuru brushes it off, but then questions something they mentioned. Both Kouhei and Yuzuka panic, lie about making the plot up on the spot, and realize they've accidentally spoiled content that hasn't even been released yet. Chizuru finds it suspicious that they could come up with such detailed plot points. She asks if they've done this before. They deny it immediately. Spoiler, they have. Chizuru laughs, saying she was just joking, but also points out how much fun they clearly have talking to each other. She advises them to work out their differences, because sharing the same interests and viewpoints is a rare thing. Kouhei blushes, embarrassed to be lectured by someone younger, but then notices Yuzuka's strange expression, leaving him speechless. Chizuru welcomes them both, but Kouhei flat out refuses to join if Yuzuka's in it, and vice versa. Later, Kouhei finds himself remembering the old days, the fun of gaming with Yuzuka, the time she asked him to teach her how to play because she'd never touched a controller before, and how she always dove into his hobbies with genuine interest. He recalls Chizuru's words. Maybe, even if he and Yuzuka failed as a married couple, they could at least be friends. Friends who have fun together. Strictly friends, of course. And that's where we're stopping for now. If you're enjoying this story, don't forget to hit that like button, drop a comment if you want part 2, and of course, subscribe so you don't miss what happens next.